as funny as it sounds, that's really all I care about, is being able to have that ability to be a blessing to someone else, to be an inspiration.
That was Odell Beckham Jr. yesterday. He appears to be in a better place after his rough game last weekend against the Vikings, where he received an unsportsmanlike penalty. Coach in the house, Herm Edwards, how are we doing?
Good to be here.
Yeah. You ready to talk? I don't know if you've talked to any Odell Beckham yet this week, have you? First time you get a shot at it?
Are you familiar with Odell Beckham Jr.?
Do you know what's been going on? Because we have the latest details, so we wanted to get your thoughts. Yes. Yeah,
this shouldn't have never taken place.
Yeah.
Should have been solved last year, but obviously it's where it's at. Hopefully it's drawn a conclusion, and this young man will go perform, and he can be emotional, and that's great. We want to see his enthusiasm. We want to see all that. Just don't become combative.
No question.
That's what he's got to figure out. Don't become combative. Stay emotional. Don't make it combative.
Speaking of that, Coach, Sunday Night Football, he gets the Green Bay Packers. Who do you think wins that one?
I like Green Bay in Green Bay. I like Aaron Rodgers. I like the fact that Nelson and Rodgers hooked up last week. As we know, this Giant defense does a nice job of preventing you from running the football. Harrison and those guys, Olivier Vernon. But don't get to the quarterback a whole lot. Only 4 sacks. And they don't take the ball away. That's not a good thing against an Aaron Rodgers football team. And they give up high percentages on 3rd down. That's not good when you face Aaron Rodgers. So I think Green Bay up there is very difficult to beat them. Aaron Rodgers is the type of quarterback that he can make the unannounced play. That puts a lot of pressure on the back end of your secondary. Their secondary is average at best. I'm talking about the Giants. And so I think they win this game.
I like the Giants, actually, here in an upset on the road. And it's not just I'm a Giants fan. I picked Minnesota to beat them, obviously, at Minnesota last week. I think the Giants are in a more desperate situation now, 2-2. I think that they are highly motivated, and Odell is highly motivated. Eli doesn't have a problem playing at Lambeau. I mean, he beat Brett Favre in the NFC Championship game. He beat Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau last time they made the Super Bowl run. So he can play at Lambeau. Aaron Rodgers, to me, is the best player in football, period. It doesn't always look that way if he's going up against a Mike Zimmer defense or if his line isn't right, but I think he's still the best player in football. But the Giants right now, also in terms of the secondary, Coach, real quick, the safeties aren't any good, but I like their corners a lot, and they're getting Eli Apple back, it looks like, the Giants. And Sam Shields on the other side, it looks like might not be playing.
Eli Apple. Good luck.
Right, okay, but he's the 3rd corner in a pretty good tandem. Meantime, Sam Shields isn't playing, if he's not playing, and right now he hasn't been practicing, I believe. Odell is due. You know, like, not to reduce it to this, but when you talk about they don't take the ball away, they're not going to end the season with no takeaways. You know, if the season ends today, they have no takeaways. They're not going to end the season that way. They are due to come away with a plus turnover differential by taking the ball away once or twice. Odell Beckham is due to see the end zone a couple of times in this game. I think it adds up to a highly motivated Giants offense stealing one from the Packers at Lambeau.
You know, Christmas comes once a year, too. You have to wait for it, right? So they're going to do, when they're going to do it. They played 4 games already.
This week,
Coach, hurry up. Let's go.
You're in line.
Yes, sir.
Coach, the only part where I would respectfully disagree with you is that you don't always have to wait for Christmas. Be a Dallas Cowboy hater, and Christmas comes early on quite a few occasions because they see to it that it has for me anyway. But getting back to Max, I think you're a bit emotional. No surprise there in rooting for the Giants and thinking that the Giants are going to win this game. I want you to take a couple of things into consideration. First of all, at some point in time, and it hurts me to say this because I'm very, very fond of this man, but we've got to start talking about Jerry Reese a little bit more. Last season, the Giants' defense was historically bad. I mean, they were so pathetic. You might as well took the word D. I mean, it's offensive to have the word D in the Giants when you're mentioning the Giants. That's how bad they were. Well, you go out and you spend $113 million in guaranteed money with Olivier Vernon, with Damon Harrison, with Jason Pierre-Paul, with Janoris Jenkins, and what do you have for it? I mean, they only put 2 quarterback hits on Sam Bradford. That's it. 2 quarterback hits on Sam Bradford on Monday night when they played up against Minnesota. Okay? Kirk Cousins has thrown an interception in every single game this year except for when he played against the Giants. Except for when he played against the Giants. They have how many takeaways on this year? NFL worst 1 takeaway, one turnover, all right? They've got a grand total of 4 sacks. Von Miller damn near has that many by himself. And so when you look at it from that perspective, you're not getting pressure on a quarterback, you're not forcing turnovers, and you're going to beat Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau Field. I cannot see it. Eli Apple, he's got promise. And by the way, his mama Apple, doing work for the network. I think she's done a good job whenever I've seen her work. I'm very, very impressed.
Fan.
But I got, yes. I'm very impressed with her. But I got to tell you, I'm just looking at Eli Apple. He's got a lot of promise. But when you look at the Giants overall as a defense, I mean, right now, there's no D in New York City, Coach. The Jets stink. Their secondary is suspect. Their linebackers can't defend against anybody. They're completely relying on their pass rush, and there's but only so much they could do. And with the Giants, it's damn near the same, except that the Jets have a better pass rush from their front 4 than the Giants do. That's about
Sam
it.
Shields,
There's no
by the way.
D in New York whatsoever.
Sam Shields, ruled out.
Okay,
so Sam Shields ruled out, and Odell is due and motivated, and Eli can play okay at Green Bay. I'm telling you, watch this Giants offense.
I hope so. I hope it's
I didn't know Sam Shields was out.
Yeah.
I didn't know Sam Shields was going to be out for this game, but I'm saying that gives me a little trepidation.
Right.
But I'm still going to pick the Packers.
I hope it's one of those games where we see a lot of big plays in the pass game. It'd be great. It's great for television, great for football.
Incidentally, Jerry Reese as a GM, who, you know, took over a pretty good situation and then won the Super Bowl, and I was very high on. I was doing a show in New York radio, so were you, Stephen A., at the time. Back-to-back, we had radio shows, and there was a lot of praise of, you know, the great Jerry Reese. But his recent drafts have not been good, obviously Odell Beckham Jr. notwithstanding. And I don't know if he was traumatized by a linebacker early in life or something, like he got ran over by a linebacker. I mean, he seems to have an aversion to linebackers. You know, that linebacking core for the Giants is really not good, and it's like they don't use draft picks on linebackers, and they don't sign them in free agency for big money. The front 4 is actually pretty good. I like the Giants' front 4, and I like their corners. But their linebackers and their safeties also, but especially the linebackers, it ain't good, Coach.
Well, we just talked about it. They're 45% completion percentage on 3rd down. They got 4 interceptions, or excuse me, no interceptions. They got 4 sacks. That's hard to play that way in this league. I mean, you have to be able to hit the quarterback. We saw that when the Giants played Minnesota. Now, they didn't get to him, but Eli understood, we're not taking sacks. I'm going to throw the ball away before I take a sack. They were intimidated of this defense. They were intimidated. The same thing with the Denver Broncos. You're intimidated as an offense when you see it, and it knocks your whole system out of whack because you can't hold on to the ball.
Is that so is the key matchup the offensive line of the Giants, which has not been very good, versus the front 4 of the Packers? Can they get pressure without bringing extra guys? That's the reason Odell, I think, the real reason he was so frustrated was he couldn't get into his route because Eli's getting rid of the ball so fast.
Well, that and the fact that they're rolling up on him. And what I've suggested, and it's just me, I'm sitting here in the studio. I'm not a coach anymore. Last year, 36% of the time, he was in the slot. This year, 7%. If you put him in the slot, you can't roll up on him because he's off the line of scrimmage. So now he's got a 2-way go. When you put him outside the numbers, you can roll up on him, kick a guy over the top. Eli's looking over there, they're double covering him, I'm going somewhere else. And I know Shepard's a big player, but your best player is number 13. Got to find a way to get him the ball a little bit more.
Jets fans cannot be happy with the performance of Ryan Fitzpatrick this season. He's already thrown 10 interceptions, 9 in just the last 2 games, resulting in the Jets having a 1-3 record, tied for worst in the AFC East. Fitzpatrick's poor performance is leading many to question if Geno Smith, who hasn't started since 2014, should be given the job back. Hello, Mark Schlereth.
Hello, how are you?
How are we doing?
I'm good.
What do you think? Fitzy's job on the line?
Well, I think your job is always on the line when you don't play well. I mean, obviously, I would look at the Jets as an organization and go, and if Geno Smith can't get into a game after Fitzpatrick has thrown 9 picks in the last 2, how much do you hate Geno Smith? I mean, why is he on your roster? If you can't put him in, if you can't say, hey, Fitzpatrick, listen, man, it's not going your way today. You've thrown 5 picks. You know what? Why don't you come over here, sit on the sideline a little bit. Let's let Geno go ahead and finish this game up. If you can't even make that move at that point, then why is he on your roster? And, oh, by the way, Bryce Petty is hurt. You draft Christian Hackenberg. Have you not developed a quarterback that you feel consistent about or that you feel good enough about to put in a game when your starter is really struggling? I'm not just saying bench him. I'm saying pull him and say, man, listen, man, tough day. Didn't go your way today. and they don't even have the faith in Geno to do that, it really shows you from a personnel department what they're giving Todd Bowles, the head coach, to work with if they don't feel comfortable putting Geno Smith in a game in the last 2 weeks. So my question again would be, why is he on your roster? If you can't stand him that much, why is he even on your roster?
100%. And by the way, Geno Smith didn't get a long-term deal. First, he didn't get the money he wanted, then he didn't get the years he wanted, and there's a reason for that. It's because he hasn't been a very good quarterback throughout his career. He's a competent NFL quarterback, a very good backup, and as a starter, you're probably looking for someone a little bit better. If, he doesn't look like a long-term, never been a long-term answer to anyone's franchise. He's turnover-prone, obviously. 9 interceptions in like a half a second. Yeah, the other guy should be starting. And the thing is, since you don't have long-term plans for Fitzpatrick, since if you lose this week, you're probably not going to make the playoffs, and since at least Geno Smith has shown flashes at times, why wouldn't you start him? It doesn't make any sense. I think absolutely Fitzpatrick's job should be on the line this weekend.
It makes perfect sense why you wouldn't start Geno Smith. Geno Smith is 11-18 as a starter in New York. His QBRs in the 2 seasons that he played was 38 and 44. Enough said. New York doesn't believe in him. New Yorkers don't want him. Plus, you went out and you drafted, you drafted Bryce Petty. You drafted this guy Hackenberg out of Penn State. And so the fact of the matter is you've got 3 quarterbacks on your roster where none of them may work for you. I like McCagnon a lot. I'm really fond of him. But these are the kind of questions that have to be answered. Whether it's him, it's Bowles, or both. Something's wrong with that picture when you are looking at a Ryan Fitzpatrick. You got 3 other quarterbacks, and you ain't thinking about playing any of them. Now, in Ryan Fitzpatrick's defense, I will say this. You got the 6 interceptions against Kansas City. Deplorable performance, no doubt about that. But those 3 interceptions he threw last week, I thought were a relative misnomer. One of those interceptions went right through the hands of his receiver. The other one was a desperation heave near the end of the game. So to me, those 2 don't really count. What we really come down to is that Ryan Fitzpatrick had a very, very bad game against Kansas City. I don't think we should be looking at him as his job security at all unless he comes out and stinks up the joint with another 4, 5, 6 interception performance. If barring something like that, I don't see that you have a better option in a Jets uniform at this particular moment in time.
Right, that's why his job's on the line. If he plays poorly, then he should be yanked.
Well, he should be, but if you don't...
But go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, if you have no faith in the guys that you have on your roster, why are they on the roster? Here's the other thing, man, that doesn't get enough attention in this day and age of the National Football League, and this is a big issue. And this is where some franchises set themselves apart and other franchises continue to struggle along the way. It's not just drafting guys. The most important part is developing guys. And it's really hard to do nowadays because you don't get to practice anymore. You don't get the time. You don't get that. So you better have guys on your staff that know how to develop a player and get that player up to speed quickly without that practice time. And, the franchises that are doing it right now, the Denver Broncos have done a great job. New England is always exceptional at this. They draft, but more importantly, they develop. You can't develop a quarterback that you feel comfortable with in 2 weeks when your quarterback has thrown 9 interceptions. You got issues.
And by the way, how do you develop a guy if he never gets out on the field? If he's why is he on your roster? That's the first part, right?
Right.
And secondly, he doesn't get any more experience. He's never on the field. Let's not pretend Geno Smith didn't also have some pretty good games in the NFL. He has.
Right.
And Ryan Fitzpatrick, Stephen A., has been good throughout his entire career for a grand total of 2 seasons. Not great, good for 2 years out of his whole career.
I would ask both of you this, and maybe
what are the good games you're talking about with Geno Smith?
You want me to tell you the dates off the top of my head? Geno Smith, the last time he actually started for the Jets, threw like 3 touchdowns.
Off the top of my head, I've seen him had good moments. It's rare in a day that I saw us on a Monday morning talking about, hey, Geno really looked good. He's had good moments, but a good game?
Yes.
Schlereth, you know better than me. You recall him having a good game?
Well, listen, I'm sure that he's probably had a decent game. I would never put him in the upper echelon of anything. Here's the one thing that would bother me, and it's bothered me, and you two would know better than I, because you probably heard more than I. But when your quarterback, who at the time was your starting quarterback, gets jacked in the jaw in the locker room in training camp, and I didn't hear one dude on that roster say, like, hey, man, that's a problem. Like, well, I didn't hear one guy come to his defense that says to me, you got a guy in your locker room that people don't respect. And those guys, you can't give an opportunity to start. If nobody respects the guy, and I don't know, maybe they did come to his defense, but I didn't hear one guy basically complain about that.
One thing he is in the upper echelon of, Mark, is Jets quarterbacks. He's in the upper echelon of Jets quarterbacks. Geno Smith.
That pretty much says it all right there.
All right, Jets
I don't think so.
at Heinz Field this weekend. Hey, at least they're in New York. Mark, you're sticking around.